Welcome back to the Undieted Podcast with your hosts, Melissa, and we are super excited about this episode. I know I say that every time, but we just get into so many good topics every single episode. And today we are focusing on something that's really important. It is your body image, self-compassion, and how to really shift your mindset in a world where we obsess so much about our looks. I want to give a little disclaimer that we do discuss diet culture terms and dieting. And if this is something that is triggering to you, please feel free to skip this episode. And don't forget that if you support our work and you are enjoying our episodes, to please subscribe, leave us a review on Apple or Spotify podcasts. And if you are watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe and like this episode. So without further ado, let's dive into today's topic. How are you feeling about this one, Rebecca?
I'm loving it. I was going to say, this is like my bread and butter too. I think in order to heal from, the impact of diet culture, you also have to heal what else is within, right?
100%. And this is my biggest beef with a lot of programs out there is that they are so generic. They just give you what to eat, what to exercise with, but they are not focusing on the items that are going to give you that long-term success and help you fix your lifestyle, build that lifestyle that you want. It's not just about what you eat and how you move. There's so much more behind that. And this is what Rebecca and I really hope to communicate with you each time so that you can see that there are a lot of things outside of your food and fitness that you can focus on that'll get you going in the right direction.
And, I think that's where I remind people that these diets don't really typically look at that, what's happening with your self-esteem, and they tend to put people down more than bringing people up, which is alarming if you look closely at all these diets, right?
Yes. When I first became certified as a personal trainer, it was the pandemic. I wanted to go work in a gym to learn from another personal trainer, and I couldn't do that. So I actually hired one. I said, okay, I want to see how they run their program, how they're going to train me. And the first thing was tracking calories. And I expressed so many times, I don't want to do it. And they just were like, we just want to see how you eat and all this stuff. They ignore the fact that it could be extremely triggering for some people. And I'm healed, but had this been 7 years ago, I wouldn't have done well with this type of approach. And also I remember messaging the trainer that was following me saying, you know what, today I'm skipping my workout. I just don't feel good. It's Friday. The weekend's coming. I don't want to. I'll go on my walk, but I'm not going to do my weight training. And it was like, you have to push through. And I know they're trying to encourage you, but listen, at the end of the day, you have to live a normal life that you can sustain. And sometimes you're going to need those days that you don't want to do anything. You shouldn't have to follow a rigid schedule. That one skipped workout is not going to impact you whatsoever. Stopping completely will, but not skipping that one episode, right?
Yeah, and I agree with that. And I think that, when we think of even a mean coach, or we think of, a mean bully, sometimes those messages translate into ourselves, and we sometimes don't give ourselves patience or compassion or kindness. And today's topic, we're going to try to analyze that and also give a lot of helpful tips on how to take that step back and give yourself kindness for the first time ever. Or maybe it could be like the 100th time ever, but either way, we're trying to make it a habit.
Yes. Do you want to describe exactly what body image is?
Yeah. So body image is how we perceive and feel and think about our bodies. And it is impacted by a lot of societal, our upbringing, our personal experiences. It could also be impacted by trauma, which, of course, I'll add a disclaimer, like to assess that, you kind of also need to see a therapist. And you also, when you think about it, our self-image, body image, it also goes back to that self-worth piece, right? It goes back to like looking at, your own qualities that make you a great human. Like, can you appreciate the qualities, not only externally, but also within, right?
And it's
Yeah.
important to remember that no two bodies are the same. No two body compositions are the same.
Yes.
And it's important not to compare yourself to others or thrive for the exact body that someone else has. You really have to look at yourself and see what changes and what you want to look like, and not saying I want to look like so and so, because you'll never achieve the exact look as someone else, you know.
Like someone told me this once is, when we have a low self-esteem, it feels like we're running from ourselves constantly, but we can't,
Yeah.
right? We can't run away from ourselves. We are us,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so comparison taking and trying to be something we're not also goes with that, right?
100%. And the wellness and beauty industry out there, they really pry on making you feel inadequate, not good enough, so that you have to buy what they're selling.
Exactly.
Okay. And usually it's a product. If you go into my links, I'm not selling you products. I'm a coach that helps you with your own lifestyle and build a lifestyle for yourself. I don't have a product to specifically sell you. There's one influencer who did do a mommy makeover. And again, no issue with that. You can go get surgery. I don't have anything against that. What I have is when you get a surgery, you're not open about it, and you make your followers believe that
Yeah.
you will have that result if you buy her. In her case, it was olive oil. So she was selling a special olive oil from the vines in Italy, and it is nature's Ozempic, and you will have this body frame if you take a spoon of this every single morning.
Oh man.
So
And
that we
yeah,
have to be transparent, and it makes coaches like myself and probably Rebecca, people don't trust because they don't know who's honest, who's out there to get you. I just want to teach you a plating method. You're buying your own food, you're just showing you how to eat. So you really have to look at that with influencers and be very, very careful with that. Personal story, a colleague of mine shared on a business call yesterday that she has a client that came to her, wants to lose weight. Her doctor, get ready for this, told her she's having a hard time losing weight, right? She feels like she's doing all the things and she just can't lose the weight. Her doctor told her that if she gains 10 pounds, he can put her on Ozempic.
No, why?
This is so scary that they're doing this now.
This is ridiculous.
So now you're telling an individual, gain weight so that I can put you on Ozempic. Ching ching for the company that makes it. But
and
look,
for that doctor probably too.
yeah, and I know it feels easier. I know that taking a medication, taking an injection feels easier. I've had someone tell me in the DMs, oh, you just don't get it. You don't get the food noise. You don't get, oh, yes, I do. I was there. I dealt with emotional eating, binge eating. I've done it all. I know the food noise.
Yes.
Taking a pill or a medication is not going to stop that. You have to pattern interrupt. You have to stop that habit that your brain is wired to do in certain emotional events.
Yes.
And that takes work, and you can't do it alone. It's hard to do it alone.
And yeah, I agree with all that, Melissa, because, and I could give the tools to someone to help them to stop the food noise, but they have to be willing to do the homework outside the session, right?
That's right. It's like anything.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like when you go for physio, right? They work on you while you're there, but then they give you exercises to do. And if you don't do them, you're not going to heal whatever limb or whatever pain you have.
Yes.
You have to do the work in between the sessions. And that work is what helps you really heal and build your lifestyle in whichever area in your life. Same with your job, same with your finances. It's the same thing with every area of your life.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's where it's like, I hear people using medications or finding different ways from running away from their problems, right? And disclaimer, like I'm about to mention some sensitive topic, but a lot of women or men who experience trauma growing up, they go, okay, well, if I'm skinny, maybe that will help me heal from my trauma. I go, not really. Your trauma is still going to be there. You need to, in a way, process and deal with the past in order to live with yourself now, right?
You have to also know that thin or skinny doesn't automatically equal healthy.
Exactly. Yeah.
You want to maintain a healthy weight. And what does that healthy weight look like for you in particular? It doesn't mean you're going to be overweight. I'm not telling you, stay in the, you can lose weight, but just erase that you have to be super thin. There's another influencer. She's European and they are naturally East European, I believe, and they are naturally smaller framed. So she looks very thin at her healthy weight. And now all these women want to know how she does it. And again, you're never going to look like her. What is healthy for you?
Exactly. And I think that's where, body image tries to take like all these different types of messages and pictures, tries to fit some normative that may never be realistic, right?
Mm-hmm. And these programs that we talk about, the ones that make you feel inadequate so that you follow whatever they want, they are designed for you to fail, for you to regain the weight, come back. And it's just this cycle that you can't get out of. And I totally get it. I've seen the scale for myself 15 years ago, 10 pounds down, 15 pounds up, 5 pounds down, 10 pounds up. It is, you don't want to be in that. When you are changing your lifestyle and making small, consistent steps, imagine a staircase. You can't jump steps. You have to take one step at a time. So when you are doing this, you will continue to go down in weight until you reach a healthy weight, and then you maintain that lifestyle, right?
Exactly. And
your
also,
body will naturally stop at some point losing weight on its own. And some people try to fight that and lose more, but it's like, no, that's where your body's comfortable.
Yeah. And that I think, it's that we're trying to also highlight that, this is not something that will happen overnight, which a lot of diets promise. Unfortunately, they promise everything is overnight. And then that creates the cycle of putting ourselves down. The shame cycle.
I see lives all the time. Lose 20 pounds this month. Unless you're obese, that's not going to happen.
Yeah. No, and you know what? I think that's where it's like we're highlighting that, I think that's where it's like I'm hearing less messages about people accepting their bodies for what they are. So I don't know if you know about this documentary. There's a documentary called Embrace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's a very old one. It's from like 2005, I think, 2006. Our listeners, I recommend you find it. It's free online, but essentially like it's about a woman who she goes through all of this. She ends up going into a competition for weight, like muscle building. And she said basically after that, she wasn't happy with herself. She still wasn't happy. And so she broke the internet back in 2006, if it's possible. She posted a picture of herself, her natural body, sitting naked with legs crossed. And she posted that on the internet and it blew up. And so she took that opportunity to make this documentary to talk with people who are struggling with their body image and how to find a peace for the first time in their mental health, and also highlighting how these diets are damaging.
Very much so. I can add that to a resource page on the website, so theundietedpodcast.com. I can link that.
For sure. And I can link also the creators like Instagram. She always has a lot of body positive posts in her social media. So
you want to, with that note about social media, you want to follow people that make you feel good. If you land on someone's page and it makes you feel bad, please unfollow, block, so that it doesn't come back up again. Blocking doesn't mean that you hate the person, but unfollow. You can start by unfollowing.
Yeah.
Because it is no good for you. You never want to, you are exactly where you need to be. right?
Yeah, exactly that. And also too, it's, if you're noticing that you're comparing between the influencer you're looking at versus yourself, that also might be a signal to maybe perhaps unfollow or maybe take a break from social media too.
We're going to talk about the role of self-compassion in healing your body image, because it starts with that. You really have to heal your body image and your relationship with food. And you can't even imagine the freedom that's on that side of the fence. It is insane. So, in this episode, we're talking about body image, and you really have to treat yourself nice. So I challenge you to look at yourself in the mirror and find 3 things that you love about yourself instead of criticizing. The minute you start criticizing something, switch to something that you like. Break that habit of finding things that are wrong with you, because there is nothing wrong with you.
And we call that opposite action in the therapy world. Do opposite action. If your brain is going to a harsh place, think of like, what would you say to a loved one? What would you say to your daughter? What would you say to your friend? What would you say to your mom? Like, think of a person you love and translate that message to you.
I did that years ago, where I accepted my body shape, for example. I'm leaner at the top, larger at the bottom, and I had to accept that instead of always trying to be like a straight lean all the way down. And another important factor is, after we've had babies, we have to embrace our bodies. Our bodies are not the same as they were when we were in our 20s. We have to embrace this new body and remember that these bodies made and grew a human being.
Isn't that amazing that we have the superpower to do that?
Yes. And I breastfed 4 children. So this area is not the same as it was before, but I'm so grateful that it kept these babies alive for their first 6 months until they started eating other food. They were literally surviving off of me. And that is amazing. That is amazing that my body was able to do that.
Yes.
And those are the type of switches you have to make in your mind, being thankful of what your body can do, being thankful that your legs can walk, being thankful that your arms can move and prepare food, etc. Some people don't have that.
Yeah.
They are disabled, so be thankful.
It's funny. I saw a post. A lot of women might feel insecure for a C-section scar. And I saw something amazing. And it was a woman being like, guess what? Did you know that going with a C-section, they cut through 7 layers of tissue? You managed to save your baby, by doing, for them to go out of the sunroof. That is amazing. And, I remember that message. And every time I look at my scar, I go like, oh, yeah, that's true.
Exactly. That's a good one.
It's pretty badass when you think about it. Like, that's a woman being able to survive that.
Yeah.
So I agree with all these messages.
Yeah. Self-care is something that helps a lot with your body image. I love, love, love dry brushing. This comes from my 14-day reset, and I've forever done it. And I have clients that forever do it. When you are dry brushing, you are taking time with yourself. So I encourage not having your phone on, because nowadays we want videos playing while we're doing everything. Just being there with yourself, embracing your body, dry brushing your legs, your arms, your stomach, and taking a nice shower. It'll feel amazing, and love yourself to health.
Yeah, and temperature also, and self-care, in just washing our face, taking a hot shower. These are things that we can try to rebuild that body connection, right? And in itself, that also can help us to connect mindfully with our body too. And mindfulness is also one way that we try to observe our thoughts, but not allow them to define us. Mindfulness also allows us to know that the thought that might be distressing you, you have to allow it to fade away. It will not be there forever. A thought is temporary. You are not your thoughts. So
And talking about thoughts, so there is a mechanism in our brain that fights to stay comfortable, because making change, you have to get uncomfortable. And you'll often make excuses to yourself, like you won't be able to participate in certain things. I've had clients who have quit drinking, for example. And at first they felt like, well, I can't go out Saturday night with my friends. They're not going to accept me because I'm not drinking. And that's just something you're telling yourself.
Yeah.
Right? You can still make, so things like that. And it's the same thing if you have a habit of, I don't know, pizza night or I don't know, something you do as a family or with friends. And when you're trying to change your lifestyle, you may have to change that. You just have to learn how to navigate through that situation. It doesn't mean you can't participate. You just participate in a different way. So it's about making those changes. And you're not lazy. You're not unmotivated. You just need motivation comes from thinking about the reasons why. What is your main driver on, like, what difference would it make for you?
Yeah.
When I do discovery calls with women who are not yet my clients, is something I offer for free. I spend almost 20 minutes with each one figuring out their why, because they start at very surface level. And when you really understand why you're doing or why you want to change, it motivates you tremendously.
It really
You can't
does.
just say, I want to lose weight because I want to feel better. Why do you want to feel better?
Yes.
And then that answer, why do you want that? And you dig so deep till you can't go any deeper, and you really come to the core. And one client of mine, it is all about her kids. So she was categorized as obese, out of breath with her kids. She doesn't want to do anything with them. They ride their bikes. She can't catch up. She can't take them here. She can't take them there. And especially in the summer, it's very uncomfortable for her to be in the heat and so on. So we really got down to it and her kids. And now she focuses on this picture of them. So every day she's reminded of why she's making these changes. She also desperately doesn't want them to follow the same lifestyle as her.
Yes, of course.
So oftentimes you want to heal yourself for your kids. You don't want your kids to be stuck in the same cycle. Sometimes it's generational.
Yeah. And I hear that a lot from my trauma clients, like, talking about how they never want their kids to experience the same judgment, the same critiques, bullying that they got from their parents or people in their lives, right? Like they want their kids to feel free. And I think that's a great motivator.
Yeah.
Another thing too is I meet a lot of women who like experience a lot of abuse growing up. And sometimes for them, eating, being at a bigger weight protects them against future abuse. It's not their fault. They're doing it from a survival system, right? And the important thing is to highlight, like that why again, like, what do you want for the future for yourself and for your loved ones? Why are you motivated now to change? And it all comes down to a significant event that might have woken them up, like a recent visit to the doctor. It also could have come from even a situation where their boundaries were finally broken beyond belief, and they're like, I'm done with this. Like, I need to heal myself. And so that why question is always so important.
I have a neighbor who was recently, she's like on the line of being diabetic. And she said, I knew it was coming. I knew, I ignored, I kept living my lifestyle the way I wanted to. And it took this wake up call. So I told her to ask the doctor before putting her on medication if there's some time that she can try to improve her blood markers. And the doctor agreed and said, yeah, we'll take blood work in 1 month. And she lowered them. She lost 13 pounds.
That's awesome.
And she lowered those markers. She's no longer not important for her to go on medication, but she has to continue building this lifestyle so that she doesn't end up there. And she looked at me and said, you were right. You told me that it can be reversed. I've been doing this for 9 years. I've seen people come off blood pressure medication, reverse diabetes, reverse thyroid issues. It all comes down to your lifestyle. Many people will say, well, it's genetics. My mom has it. My dad has it. Listen, genetics loads the gun. Lifestyle pulls the trigger.
Yeah, very true.
That is the slogan. I tell everyone, you don't, just because my mom and my grandmother have high cholesterol, and they were diagnosed around my time. I'm nowhere near having high cholesterol.
Awesome.
Right? So
Yeah.
it's not true. You don't necessarily have to follow the faith of your family. You can make a change with that.
Exactly.
And one thing I want to bring up about being self-compassionate towards yourself. So when we are on this diet culture train of the all-in mentality, so I have to work out 5 days a week, I have to be restrictive. When you have someone like me and Rebecca telling you, you don't have to do these things,
Yeah.
you're wired to feel like, well, now I'm just being lazy and I'm giving up. So I'm just going to go over 3 points that I wrote down in the notes. So one is, it's just an excuse to be lazy. It's not. You're actually fostering, you're opening the doors to creating healthier habits that are going to serve you long term and for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So just because you're giving up the grind, the all-in mentality, it does not mean you're giving up. It does not mean that you're lazy.
Yes.
And the second one is, if I accept my body, then I just won't take care of it. Because if you are constantly criticizing yourself, you feel like you're going to be forced to make the changes. And if I say, I love myself how I am, I accept how I am, you're not going to want to make changes. That's not true.
So it's funny, I get this one all the time in my work, and I tell them, if you accept your body, you're lowering so many stressors for yourself. You're actually engaging with your body. You're giving yourself forgiveness, kindness, compassion, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly it. The kindness and compassion. And the third one, which I mentioned about the being lazy, it means that you're giving up. So it doesn't. It just means that you're taking a different approach, and it will take more time, but you will do it for the last time.
Yes.
And that is what you
Exactly.
want. So let's move on to identifying self-talk. And it's saying, I look awful today. Right away, you're looking at yourself and you feel like you look terrible. That's negative self-talk. If I eat this, I'll gain weight. I'm too fat to have this. Oh, I can't have ice cream with you because I'm already overweight. Those are all negative examples of negative self-talk. Anytime you're saying something bad about yourself, it is negative self-talk. And I actually have a mom client who never ate ice cream with her kids. The kids notice. Mom, how come you never have ice cream with us? Why are we eating ice cream, but you're not?
I had a client who told me her kids pointed out she never eats spaghetti with them. And she felt like her heart broke because she was like, oh, like she felt left out.
Yep. And if you learn to build my plate, use my plating method, spaghetti fits there. So instead of having a whole plate of pasta with a little bit of sauce, we build the plate that includes the pasta so you have it all.
Exactly.
I have clients who make pasta salads that are heavy on the fibers. So we've got a lot of vegetables in there, chicken for protein or tuna, and it's tossed in with pasta.
Yes. And you know what? I mean, that's where you also have to recognize, like, are these thoughts hurting me? Are they hurting the people I love? And I think that's where it helps to like take a step back, right? And say, okay, like, that I need to lessen, the self-harm by lessening this negative self-talk. And and it's also checking the facts against those thoughts too, right? Is eating ice cream this one time, is this going to impact me? And the answer is obviously no.
No.
Right?
And don't value your happiness based on how you look, saying, I'll be happier when I lose weight. So until then, you're going to be miserable. You'll never achieve your goal. So you want to practice, like Rebecca mentioned earlier, practice talking to yourself the same way you would talk to a close friend or a family member.
Yes.
What you're about to say, would you say it to them to their face?
Yeah. Yeah. Because something interesting that I tell clients sometimes is, if you were in a crowd of people and you thought people were judging you, if you were to put speech bubbles thought bubbles on everyone's head, you would actually see that they're all negatively critiquing themselves. And it's a comment that we are our own worst enemy sometimes.
100%. So I want you to continuously say to yourself this week, by looking in the mirror, finding those 3 things and saying that my self-worth is not determined by my appearance. You're not less of a person. Someone is not better than you just because you think they look better.
Yeah. It's funny because, some ways that you could also like strengthen that part of you that is in the practicing, shifting your mindset is also checking the facts for, what are some positive things that people have said to you? What are some compliments you've gotten at work from your family, from your friends, from strangers even, right? And compiling those facts all together too.
Yeah. So other ways too that you can start appreciating your body is, spending time naked alone. There's one influencer who does a challenge where she works out naked. I'm not a huge fan of that because I find it difficult, but I love working out at home primarily. And when I do, I don't wear much because you really get to see the strength in your body. When you do certain moves, you see the muscles in certain areas that you wouldn't see if it was all covered up. So really spend time with yourself.
Yes.
And embrace your body because it is beautiful, just like everybody else's.
Yeah. And also that there is a lot of therapists that also talk about that when we are focusing mindfully on our bodies, we also should focus on not the shape of our body, but what has our body done for us, right?
Uh-huh.
The function of your body. What do your legs do? What do your arms do? Right? What does your head do? What does your eyes do? Right? Like we're reminding of the function of our body in itself.
And that you can move freely.
Yeah.
Right? That is so, so important. And we take it for granted because we don't know what the alternative is like.
Yeah.
So
it's funny because one example I would say, like I told people that my weight training led me to a goal of deadlifting 200 pounds. And people were like, oh my gosh, Rebecca, you're going to look so good. I'm like, I don't even care about that. I feel like a badass that I was able to even lift that. So like you will get to a place where you will just appreciate what your body does, not the end result or whatever might lead to developing healthy behaviors for yourself, right?
Yeah. Let's move on to navigating triggers and external pressures because this is a huge one. I actually posted a video yesterday that said, if you want inner peace, master these 2 things. Stop caring what other people think and stop thinking that they care. We are so wrapped up in our own lives. Often we think that people care. They really don't. They really, really don't. So you have to stop thinking what other people care and learn to navigate negative comments. And I know that it is hard. And Rebecca and I, coming from cultures, Middle Eastern and Italian myself, they are very straightforward.
Yeah.
When I regained my first weight loss, it was hell on earth for me because it was immediately, whoa, you gained weight. I know that.
I've also gotten those comments from family too. Oh, you look, you got some, or oh, you look like, and I'm like, please stop. I had to actually set boundaries with my family and be like, please stop. That's not welcome here. And I have a pro tip for the listeners. If you kind of want to shoot it right back at them, but in a classy way, like Audrey Hepburn.
Yes. I'm listening.
If someone's like, oh, it looks like you've gained some weight or some, whatever way it's directed, be like, oh, I'm curious. Why are you interested in that? Just uncomfortably stare in their eyes and be like, I'm curious. Why are you interested in that? And you'll see that discomfort in their body language when they realize they were being a jerk.
Yeah.
And it's the perfect combat. It allows them to focus on, oh, I'm doing behaviors that are harmful to my family. Or I'm being a jerk right now to my daughter.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so it's one question, but it impacts greatly.
Yeah.
So that's my pro tip.
Very
what do you
good.
think, Melissa?
Yeah, I could just, yeah.
Can you imagine our family like getting that question intensely?
Yeah, that's an example of shutting down conversations that make you uncomfortable. That's a boundary. And a lot of us struggle with boundaries, setting them with people, because many of us are people pleasers.
Yeah.
And we just want to, everyone to like us. And if they're going to dislike you because you're setting boundaries, I mean,
that's when you kind of want to question, does this relationship meet, me at where I'm at?
mm-hmm.
And that's where you kind of also want to work with a therapist on how to set boundaries with that person, right? Another thing too to keep in mind, we did already do an episode on boundary setting. But another thing too to keep in mind is just that, if you find yourself surrounded by people who are self-critical of themselves, misery loves company. And it's going to also increase that amount of negative self-talk you will also experience. You're surrounding yourself with people that are already negatively talking about themselves.
That's right. Yeah. And often people, look, at the end of the day, happy people don't put down or talk bad about other people. If you are really concerned about someone, you can talk to them in private, in a nice way. But to make comments in front of people to try to embarrass you or what have you, that's a them thing.
Yeah, it is.
I wish I knew that when I was younger, right? When people would make comments about me eating too much dessert, that was really them wishing they gave themselves permission to have dessert at all.
Yeah.
Because they're on a diet, that doesn't allow for that. And you can't live life that way. Life has to be lived spontaneously. Some days you won't plan on grabbing ice cream or having a piece of cake, or you go over somewhere and they're offering you someone. Do you really want to be sitting there thinking, I can't do this because it's not allowed, or I don't know how to track this, or if I eat this cake, I'm going to have to give up lunch? I've heard that before.
And that,
right?
We're trying to free you from that you have to give up something that could make you happy, that is happiness, right? And it's sad because I hear that a lot of people, they have had this negative messaging from when they were younger. And a lot of people, who come from backgrounds of trauma, if it's physical or sexual abuse, they might find that even, having someone notice their bodies leads to danger, right? And so, I think it's also navigating and educating those around you that, you're trying to change. You're trying not to, engage in that negative self-talk anymore. And you could teach them that, you're trying to find happiness overall, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you want to really curate these are some tips I'm giving you now, curate your social media feed. Follow body positivity and neutral accounts. Unfollow, block people who make you feel inadequate, which is what I mentioned earlier today. Find support in like-minded communities. This is why I'm so passionate in 2025. I'm building my own community. It's the Mom Fit 360 Inner Circle. And my goal is to get women together. And you can find support there because you can talk to other people on the same journey. And it really, really helps to be surrounded by other women that are on the same path as you. I do the same as a coach. I'm in a community with other coaches and we help each other with our businesses and bounce ideas off of each other, etc. It is super, super, super helpful. You can't ever do anything alone. It is lonely and it's just more fun with people. So you want to surround yourself with people that accept you, uplift you, okay? You want to seek resources, books, podcasts, online spaces that promote self-acceptance instead of always trying to change yourself, and reframing. So instead of worrying about how your body looks in a dress, focus on how wearing the dress makes you feel.
Yeah.
Okay? Because people, like I said before, people don't really care. You care. And the ones that do care is a them thing.
Exactly.
If they're going to criticize how you look because you dressed up in a dress, that is not a problem. That is yours.
And also that, you should be able to wear whatever the hell you want.
Yep.
You know
what's appropriate. We're all adults here. You know what is appropriate for your body. But I've heard many times that, oh, I love this. It would never look good on me. Oh, it's just going to look, you're going to look different on you. You can put the same dress on 10 women. They're all going to look different. They're all going to look different. This is not a models coming down a runway. I know they look very similar because they pick the same type of body frame. They are extremely thin. They all look the same. But us women out in the world, we're all different and we're all beautiful. And we all deserve to feel good in the clothes that we wear.
Yes, we do. And we're allowed to express ourselves. We're allowed to be who we are. You know, live life how you want to. Don't try to be perfect. Perfection is it's non-existent. Try to live like the balanced way if you can. The middle way, right? So,
and if you have any specific questions, reach out to us on social media, MomFit360 Life for Melissa and for Rebecca, Path to Wellness Counseling. You can ask us anything. We are open in the DMs to talk with our community. This is what we are here for. And did you want to say anything else before we say goodbye, Rebecca?
No, I like always, I always encourage people, if you feel that a lot of the material here resonated with you, if you have past trauma, if you feel like there are points that, you know, have touched you, like you can seek out therapists, you can seek out coaches that are engaging in that body positivity, you know, but overall, allow yourself to feel happy with you. You deserve it. Life is so short.
All right. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much for listening. Bye.